Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So let's continue here and do a view page so that when we right click and click preview here, we actually go to a page that previews the content on a different tab. So the first thing that I need us to do is to be able to just load the link on a new tab. So we should be able to right click and then the URL should change to the specific item here. So what I need to do for that is, let's go to the index.html. This is our submenu item here, and we have the preview button here. Now this should change into, actually no, we don't need that. We can just do the preview file over here. Okay, so that's great. So what I'm gonna do is, first of all, if this is a folder, we shouldn't allow this to happen. We should hide this preview button. So let's go down here and do that first of all. So check if an item is favorited, then hide. Okay. This is no longer about just checking for favoritism here. It's just say hide. Let's change that to hide unnecessary. Is that how you? Too many. I don't even know at this point. Anyway, hide unnecessary items. So let's just make our lives easier and say hide items not needed. Okay, so with this, I can grab the preview button and hide it as well. Dot hide, right? So we only show if it's not a folder. So I'm gonna grab that and do preview like so. Okay, so we remove that hide if it's not a folder. So let's refresh our page. Let me right click so we don't see the preview here, but we do see the preview on actual items like that. Okay, so that's step number one. Number two is we have to create the function that this is the preview file function, just like the download file here. Let's look for what object? It's in the table object. So let's look for the table object and add one more function. So the table object is right here. That's the select. This is the download file. But right here, we're going to say preview file like so is equal to a function. All right, like that. And let's put a comma like this. Okay, great. Now we need to know what item is selected right now. So we can grab an ID from the table, just like we did here. So I'm going to grab that and let's do that. So we grab the ID, then we can get whatever item we need from there, from this rows thingy. So what we really want is the slug this time. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say alert, just so we can see that it's working. And let's put a slug over there. So we're just alerting ourselves to the slug of each item. So right click, let's click that, and you can see there's a slug there. So things are going as planned. As you can see, there's a different slug, so it's actually working. So what we need now is to move to another location here. And since we have, this is like the index.html file, so I'm gonna do index.html like that, just so you can see it. We need to move to another file, which is we're gonna call it the preview. So we have signup.html, we have login.html. I need the preview.html. So before we even create it, let's just do our thing here by saying window dot location dot href is equal to
Wait,
I think we need window.open. I'm not really sure how to open a new tab. Okay, let's just Google that. JS open new tab. Open new tab. So it's open URL and the target. Okay, so that's the URL. The target is new, I guess. So let's see, window open method. Let's check that out. Open URL in new tab and not new window. Okay, let's see that as well. Okay, so while things are loading here, I already know it's the window.open function. So I'm going to say window.open and do that. It says URL and target. So the URL here is going to be the download dot, no, we're going to call it the preview.html, and then we will put, okay, so this is going to be a string, of course, URL. Let's put a query string there, which will be, we're going to call it ID is equal to, and then we will put an ID here. Now the ID is essentially the slug. So let me grab this part here, cut that and put it there. So that's our ID. So window.open. Now it says here target. Now I don't know what we should put for target here. Maybe let's put blank like so. I'm not sure, but let's try it out before we look at this. If we fail, we're gonna come back here. So I'm gonna right click and say preview. Oh, it worked. Look at that. Now let's look what the problem is. So it says preview.html. It actually worked as intended. So I didn't need to look at the other stuff at all. The only reason we get this is because the page does not exist. So let's create the download.php page. Now we will copy from the index.html. So I'm going to select everything from the index.html, right click, new file, paste, save. I'll save this guy as download.html. So we're gonna do .html in just like we are doing with all files here. And now here, I would just need it to load a particular page. So I don't want most of this stuff here. So my Drive main page, we're gonna call this one my Drive preview page. All right, great. So all I need from that preview page is the header. That's all I need. The rest of this stuff is not needed. So let me come back here. Now we're gonna refresh. Okay, why isn't it working? Previewed. Oh, why did I name it download? It's supposed to be preview. Sorry about that. Let me change it to preview.html. Okay. So let's refresh, and there we go. So it looks exactly like the other page, but what I want here is just this top header with the name at the top there. The rest of this I do not need. So where it says hi and the username, anything after that must be removed. So let's find it. We have the hi, where is that? That's right there. So everything down here is irrelevant. So what I'm gonna do is select this div over here. This is on number 64. I want to see where it ends to make sure I am getting everything. It ends over there except for the model, so that's fine. Let's go back to 64. Where is 64? Right there. All right, I don't need these models, so if I'm gonna need them, we will new. Let me remove all of this. I don't need all of that. Okay, so here I'm just gonna say please wait. We're gonna say something like loading, please wait, something like so. So let me refresh, and there we go. Loading file, please wait. Loading file, please wait. Let me put a div in here that I can use to display this properly. Let me put a style Let's do padding 10 pixels. Let me do text align center. Lots of good stuff, yes. Okay, so apparently it's not going all the way, so I'm guessing there's a display flex here. So let's just do style. In fact, let me just remove all of that. It should sort itself out. Okay, so loading file, please wait. Okay, that is good. So let me close this. Let me close that. Let's try this again. Preview file, loading, please wait. Good. Because at this point we want the thing to start loading a file. So we don't need to deal with the mode. So let's delete that. We don't need to know the folder ID. So let's remove that. In fact, logged in is equal to username. Okay, I will leave these guys. I think the folder ID may be the only thing. Anyway, I'll leave this. We don't need a submenu here at all. So I'm just gonna, let's go here and remove that. We are not going to have a table, but I want to use this refresh part because it reads from Ajax. Or maybe there's another, let's see, upload, blah, 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 file info. I'm looking for one that has a send. Okay, so action does what I need. So let me delete the others here. So I don't need all of these guys at all. Okay, up to table here, out. So all I need is this const action and its content here because it has a handle result function. No need for the table refresh either, and submenu stuff here. None of that is required. Okay. Let's see here. So we don't need this new folder. Show new folder. We don't need that. Okay. We just need the send function. Okay, so looking good. So what I want is for it to load the file. Now, in order to load the file, I need to know what file let me refresh and see if things are working out still. Okay, so here it says hire user because it's no longer loading the username there, right? Okay, so that's okay. What part did I remove? It's the table refresh. Okay, I see that. No matter, we'll handle that a bit later. So what I want here now is to grab the ID here, right? I want to grab that ID. So how do we do this? Now, I'm going to do some tests here. I'm going to do inspect element. This is how you can test things. Let's go to the console. And I'm going to close that for a moment. If you're using Mozilla like me, there's a button here, a book-like button where, because right now in the console you can type some code and run it, but it runs immediately. But if I click on this one, then I can type the code here and then run it while I'm done. So if you don't get this side thing, maybe you're using a different browser, just type, yeah, but then that defeats the purpose. You can still type right here, no problem. But here, I want to find a way to grab this. So I'm going to look in the window object and do a dot so that I get some suggestions. So let's see, if I do the location, window.location, and then dot, let's see what it has. Okay, so there's host name, href, origin path, port. Oh, I see. So it has all of this stuff, which is very good. I don't know what search does. Let me find that and just press enter. No, we'll just say run. Ah, look at that. This is actually very convenient. As you can see, .search starts with the query string at the beginning here and just shows me the rest of it. So let me see if for some reason this is not there, what happens. Okay, let's try this again. So it gets an empty string, so that's still fine with me. And click as long as I don't get an error. So I'll get this kind of thing. Okay, so that's great. So what I want is to be able to grab. So I'm just going to make a function here. So the function is going to be called, let's see, function get, what do we call? Get URL params, like that. Okay. So we want to get all the parameters in the URL. So the first thing we're going to do is say let URL is equal to window dot location dot search, like that. Okay, great. Once we grab that, it may be an empty string, right, sometimes. So what I'm gonna do is what do I do? Can I trim this? Okay, I'll do a console.log of my URL to see where we are at. So here I'm just gonna say URL is equal to URL.trim, and then I want to trim things like the question mark, like that. Let's see what I get with that. So I'm just gonna refresh the page, and oh, I didn't ask the function to run, so let me run it right here. Get params, like that, and let's refresh. Okay, so it can't actually trim things this way. This is why I miss moments like this I miss PHP, because you can do things like this in PHP. Okay, so it seems trim here only removes the emptiness. Okay, so that's fine. But what I can do is I can say something like URL is equal to, let's split it. I'm going to say URL.split. I want to remove that question mark if it exists at the beginning. So I'm going to do .split. I'll split it from the question mark. Okay, like this. Now URL.split, that will return an array. Okay, which will make this an array of some kind. So let me see. If I refresh, you see now it's an array with the first item being an empty, and the next one being the thing I want actually. So it's split with it used the question mark as a splitter, so it gets an empty string here and then this string over there. So I want the item in number 1, but it's usually let's see. I need to know if number 1 exists. If it doesn't, this is a little tricky here. Okay, so I'm gonna say again, URL is equal to URL1, like this. Now it's possible this may not exist, so I'm going to say type of URL1 is equal to undefined. So if it does not exist, type of URL is equal to undefined, meaning it does not exist in this part, then let's put a question mark to make this an if statement. Then if it doesn't exist, we set the answer to the 0. We say URL 0 is what we want. Otherwise, if it exists, we want URL 1, like so. Okay, so all this is just to get rid of that question mark. This is all I'm trying to do. So I grab that there, it looks fine, but this is an ideal situation, right? What about if we didn't have the question mark at all? Maybe we had an %, instead. Would this work? Okay, So we have, okay, URL not found on the server. Okay, so that doesn't work. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day if it's like this, it will not work. Okay, that's one thing. And then what about if we just do that, we get an empty string. Okay, good. Okay, this looks all right. I think that's gonna work just fine. Now what I want to do is split the thing again, the URL. So I'm gonna do URL is equal to URL.split. Now it's possible that we could add items at the end here, like later, and we decide we want to add more params. We can do and. We have the ID. We can have and user is equal to John, for example. If we do that, then we grab, what are we doing here? Okay, so there's something wrong here. URL, I still need the console.url to be there, so let me not remove that. I'm gonna say URL is equal to URL.split, and this time we are splitting with the and%, like this. Okay, so let me grab that. Let's try this out. So it gives us an array where we have ID is equal to that, and then user is equal to John, which is fine. But what if we didn't have an and, like so? What do we get? We get an array still with one item. So this is good enough for me. So after that, we're going to do a for loop like this. So in there, we are looping through the URL item so that we get each item we want. So the params, I'm going to say let params is equal to an empty object, like so. So we've created an empty object so we can add all the params in there. So this one, this item right now is one of these strings, like ID is equal to that. So we can split it with the equal sign there. Just split it with the equal sign. Let me go back a bit so that we have two items at least. So I'll have ID, this string here, and this string. So if I split each one of these using the equal sign, then I can put this as a key and this as a value. So let's go ahead and do that. So here I'm going to say let, I'm going to say parts is equal to URL I, which is the string, dot split again, and I'm splitting this with the equal, where the equal sign is, right? So now we get parts with one part and the other. Now it's possible that there is no equal sign there, right? Very possible in the string. So in that case, we only have one result. And if we do get one result, then that would be considered the key still. So let's see here. I'm going to say let key is equal to, so we're trying to figure out if there's a key in parts. So key is equal to always the first item, so parts 0, and then let value is equal to parts the second item. Now this one may not exist sometimes, so what I'm going to do is do again a type of parts 0 is equal to undefined. So if it's like that, let's put a question mark. If there is nothing in part there, we'll put true. And then if there is something, we'll just put whatever is in parts 1, like so. Okay, let me move this separately like so. So what we're doing is the first item in the array that is created from the split, we're using that as the key. And then for the value, it's possible that we don't have a second item, right, which is this one. So we just check if the second item does not exist, then we just give it a value of true. That way we can have something like user is equal to true if there was no key or there was no equal sign in there. So I can show you this. Now what I need to echo is params at this point. So I'm going to put that there. Because what I'm going to do is do this. I'm going to say params dot push. Wait a minute, how do I use the push function? Can I put a key and value? I don't know. Let's try that. Like so. All right, so let's test this out and see. Okay, so params.push is not a function. Okay, that is okay. What we're gonna do is just put key here like that, straightforward, and say is equal to value. Let's not struggle too much. All right, and there it is, it's working. So our object has two items, you see. One is ID and there's a value there. One is user and it's John. So there's a key value pair thingy going on. But what I want to test is put another item at the end which doesn't have a value, doesn't have an equal sign, and see how it handles that. So I'm going to say name, we just say John and name, right? And then let's press enter. So I expect 3 items, right? And that's true. I got 3 items, and the last one is user. This one, name, and then its value is true because it doesn't have an equal sign. So things are working as intended, trying to minimize errors there. So that's how we get our params. So what I want now, once we do get params here, then I want to grab the ID from those params and use it to read the data. So here I'm going to say return params like that. So when we run this function, it just returns the parameters in the URL. So that's what it's doing. So at this point, I can grab this function and use it to send some data. So here I'm going to say action dot, there's send here, but I want to say get file. This one I'm going to call it, and let's put a function. And this is the function that we'll call the send function to actually get some data. Since the send function is a multi-purpose thing that we just supply an object. So here I'm just going to say send. Actually, I have to call it by the object name, action.send. And then here I will put an object. But let's create that object. So let's say let object be equal to empty object. And then we're going to say obj dot data type is equal to, we're going to call this one preview file as the data type, and then say obj dot id is equal to, and in here is where we will need to get the param. So id may not exist from the param here, so if it does not, we should figure something out. So here I'm going to say let params is equal to get params, like so. So our params are in here. So let's grab the ID param from there. Now it's also possible here the ID parameter may not exist because somebody can easily edit the URL. So I'm going to say type of params ID. Wait, do I put single quotes in here? Wow, I'm not even sure about this anymore. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Params. Wait a second. Let me just do this and say return. And I just want to alert me to param ID. I just want to see if it actually gives me what I want over here. So down here I'm going to do action.get file, so it runs immediately, we load the page. So action.get file. All right, goodie. So let's see if it's gonna show me the param that's in there just by refreshing. Oh, so it works. Okay, great. So that's working. Let's remove that. So this works. So if the type of is equal to undefined question mark. So if it does not exist, let's put an empty string as an ID. But if it does, let's grab the actual ID. So let's paste that there. Okay, so we have our ID, we have the data type. Now we can just send this information to the PHP side to get the data we want. So let's see here. So we don't have this object refresh anymore, so I'm going to remove that. Here we'll leave the console.log so we can see what's going on. And here at this point, could not complete operation. We can leave it there. Maybe on here we'll do an alert. Let's alert with the result, right? Let's just show the result. Actually, we already have a console.log there. So I think here let's just alert done or something. Actually, let me just leave it with a result, right? Okay, cool. Now on the API side, we need to have somewhere where we say if data type is equal to preview, then we do something, right? So let me look for one where we actually need to grab an item from the database, which is like this one. Delete row does need an ID, and it needs the file type. User ID. This is good, so we know what the user. Okay, so we're gonna copy this one. So I'm gonna click here on the else up to here, Ctrl+Shift+D, duplicate. So now we have two of these delete row, but I want a preview file. All right, so get file from database. We don't need this file type. We just need to know the user and the ID of the file, which is the slug really. I'm just gonna call it slug. I think let's call it slug everywhere so that we don't get confused at some point. So I'm gonna just go up here and change that to slug. I don't know why it's called ID in there, but I'm gonna call it slug when sending to the API side. So I'll do slug over here. Okay, so actually delete it. We don't need that. We don't need to check if it's a folder or anything like this. So I can delete this first part here. Boom. Which means I can delete that. Okay, so query success true. All right, so things are looking up. So if there is a row actually deleted, we don't need this. What else? I don't need that either. Let's remove this as well for now. So here we're saying select all from my drive where slug, right, is equal to slug, and we need to make sure that the user ID is correct. Is equal to user ID, because then we know that this, oh wait, we don't need that actually. Anyway, for now, only the user, the current user, the one who uploaded it, can download it. So we are putting that as a security measure, but we change this when sharing options change, right? It doesn't have to be your item. You can share it with others, but for now, it has to be yours. So once we do that, then I can add info. If row, then we're gonna say info row is equal to row. Actually, I don't need to check the if statement here. I can simply just directly put it there. Whether it got a result or not is irrelevant. Alrighty then, very good, success. So what I need to see here is the file, the contents of the row of that file. If things went well, so I'll say okay and refresh. Okay, so as you can see, we get an alert showing us, yes, we got the right file. Everything here seems good. There's also information on the user, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Which we can use over here, right? Let me see how we are doing that in the index.html. In the refresh table. Let's see, where is that function? Okay, so there it is, refresh. There's a part that displays the username, so I just want to copy this, check if the user is logged in. We don't need that, so I'm just gonna grab this part. Okay, so this happens after the obj is created. So I'm going to go back to preview, and right here, when things are successful, I'll try here, display username. Okay, cool. So let me refresh. That happened, and we have our username. Very nice. And everything here is good. So with this information now, we can display the file contents over here instead of the please wait over there. So as you can see, this is, what file is this? This is the Pinocchio, a true story. That's a file name. Let's try a different one. Let's try the turning red preview. All right, so it actually brought turning red there. Okay, so things indeed are working as intended. Now we just need to display it and put a download button over here. Okay,